Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and this is an exciting saber for me because, as I will show you guys, it is really tricked out. Something that ended up working out really well. Had a kind of a crazy harebrained scheme as to what I wanted to do with this. Falling asleep one night and I woke up the next day and thought, yeah, that'll never happen. But what the heck, I'll give it a shot and see if I can pull it off. And lo and behold, it actually worked out. What we've got here is the Ultimate Works or Pack Store Anakin Slimflex. It's the Anakin hilt from Revenge of the Sith. It is really nicely done. If you want to compare it to this guy above, this is the Hasbro, I think. Yeah, 2010 Hasbro FX version of the lightsaber, which is nice. They did a pretty good job with this one. But as you can see, this guy is much more screen accurate, much more detailed, with really a killer finish. And it's, size-wise and weight-wise, it's a tiny bit longer, maybe a quarter of an inch longer, but much thinner, much lighter, much more elegant. And the build quality is considerably better. Rubber grips versus plastic. The clamp card is a real circuit board card as opposed to some plated plastic. This is an actual brass metal button versus chromed plastic, etc., etc. But, just by way of comparison, so you guys can kind of see the difference between the two. The hilt itself, unfortunately, I think is already come and gone. So those of you guys who have one of these, consider yourselves lucky. Those of you guys who don't have one of these or who want one, I've got this one finished for sale. That's all I've got. The other ones that I bought are already gone. But you can probably find some on some of the Facebook lightsaber forums and stuff. So I don't think they're totally impossible to find, but the pack store isn't selling them anymore. The way they work is usually they will do, a run of some hilt or some lightsaber, and I'll have 200 of them, and that's it. And I don't know that they do a lot of re-releases. I'm sure they do occasionally, but not too often. So that's the background on this guy. When you buy this hilt, obviously it comes empty, but it comes with a really nice blade plug. Got a polycarbonate outside and then all metal, the remainder of it. It has button options for underneath this button. You could make this into a button. Also here, the clamp card, and also the toggle switch here, slide switch. So you got 4 different button options. It comes with a display stand. This is it. It's I've got it used for something else at the moment because it's not anything special, but it comes with a display stand and it comes with a nice decorative plaque done in nice shiny polished chrome. Star Wars, Anakin, Revenge of the Sith, etc., etc. So, comes with a few nice little extras so that you get, the full premium setup that you would expect for the price, and the price was pretty good. I think it was $250 or so. I've got it done up because I really spared no expense and really left nothing out on this guy. I wanted to do a full presentation box for it too, so the box display top comes off and everything can be stored inside here. I used the foam cutouts from the original shipper box to create kind of the underlying storage area, but you can put the chassis, as you'll see later, will go in here, the blade plug here, the lightsaber here, and then whatever extras you want to put over here, maybe batteries or your recharge cable or something. Now, let's get to the actual lightsaber because this guy's pretty awesome. Unscrew the pommel, and comes off with a press fit speaker assembly right here that stays in the pommel. and it's got a round PCB connector on it that mates with these pins here. I did put the main power switch right next to them. It's on now. Unfortunately, when you turn it on, you have to be really fast if you want to get your startup sound. You have to get the speaker back in there, but I'm not going to bother racing because I don't want to cross-thread these threads, because this pommel's got really tiny threads, and they're aluminum, so easily damaged. So that's one thing to be careful with on this guy. There's a couple things to be careful with. Those threads, and then the overall finish, because it's chrome, and it's not cheap chrome, it's not thin or shabby chrome, it's really good chrome, but chrome is chrome, and if you look at it wrong, you'll scratch it. And it's going to be covered in fingerprints all the time, no matter what you do. But, that being said, beautiful finish. I put the main power button here underneath. See, even with gloves on, covered in fingerprints already. Main power switch is under the clamp card. And your auxiliary switch is this side toggle switch here. You just push it down. As I said, includes the blade plug, which is really nicely illuminated. The blade retention is this screw here, which is 5/64 or a T8. I use a T8 because I've got it handy. The only real negative about this hilt is the tightness of the blade holder. This whole section from about the middle point up, I had to put on my mill and literally put I think it was a 15/16 bit, and just mill out the whole inside, because you couldn't fit a blade into it. It was so tight, and I think that was because they finished the inside. It was black painted or black powder coated or something, and then this top part here was chromed, so adding that layer of paint or chrome or powder coat adds, width and changes the diameter of the blade tube holder, so you can't actually get a blade into this guy without totally changing that, or without sanding down the blade. But sanding down the blade is just, it's a terrible idea. It never comes out well, it never looks good, and it's never even. So that's one of my main pet peeves with this guy. You could put the blade plug in, but you can't really get it back out unless you've got tools, or unless you don't put it in quite all the way. Like if you put it in this far, you could probably get it out. But any further, you need pliers or sutures or something to grab onto it and pull it out. Not a big deal. Blade plug is very, very basic. I actually changed it a bit. It came with just a clear polycarbonate tube, and as you can see, this is a sanded diffused tube with a diffuser core, but it's hollow. There's no foam, no neopixels, no nothing going on inside there. And that illumination that you get here is just illumination that is a result of the pixels that are on board on the blade connector. I'm not sure why it illuminates so damn well, but it really does. Like the side wall of this blade plug really catches the light and throws it right up to the top. I'll show you guys a couple different colors so you can see what I mean. Alright, now let us put the blade on. Actually, before I do that, here's a magenta blade, so you can see how bright that is. Although it's not looking real magenta on this video. Green. Bright yellow. But, you know, the point is, and as you can see, it's really well lit, really well illuminated. It's really obvious. And they did a nice job on that. Before we get on to the rest of it, let's run through the hilt real quick. It's got nice grips. They're soft rubber, not hard plastic. And the hard part with rubber is the adhesive, because nothing likes to stick to rubber, but these have really good adhesive on them, and once you stick them on, they're stuck. They're not going to come off, so that's a great job. The finish on everything is terrific. The fit and finish on everything is terrific. The detail, the milling, the level of intricacy on this knurled section is great. This is all aluminum here, and then the fake clamp area is nicely chromed. Up here, this button is pretty sure it's electroplated, but it unscrews, so you can do another switch underneath here. But everything is really nicely machined to really good tolerances, so everything is, you know, screws in very nicely. All the threads are great. No complaints about anything. The little details, like inside the window for these little brass connectors, everything's super clean in there. Hopefully you guys can see that. Just overall, a really nicely done hilt. So, to how it works. We've got a 36-inch Neopixel blade, and the reason it's so long is because the blade actually goes all the way in down to here, so there's 4 inches inside the hilt, and 32 inches sticking out. So you want to have 32 inches of blade. And it would be a good idea if I turned it on. There we go. That's it. Sorry, I just finished building this, so I'm still actually getting used to using it and, you know, functionally playing with it. It takes a little bit of practice because it's kind of complicated. Here's your, like I said, blade retention screw down here. That's locked in now. Really a loud lightsaber, which is great. The main reason is because the vented pommel has nice big vents and the speaker's right in it, but also because it's got a good speaker in it. The volume is only turned up to 2200 out of 3000, so it can go a lot louder than this. And the other thing to point out is there's a lot of new sound fonts on here. I want to say thank you, of course, to Samuel, customer of mine, for sending me some new sound fonts that he bought. I appreciate the share. Thank you, Samuel. This is the idea here. Was I wanted to go a little out of the ordinary for sound fonts because, you know, I have like 15 that are my favorites, that are my go-tos, and I hate overusing them. But I wanted to have some kind of Graflexy fonts because this is kind of a Graflex, but then again it really isn't because it's not made of a Graflex flash. It's totally different, but it looks like a Graflex. So the idea was to have something that's similar to a Graflex, but not quite. That one, I think, is an Ahsoka Tano font. Next up, I want to say this is called the Butcher. Just really a cool font. Actually, I should jump back real quick. Just the throatiness, is what I like most about it. Had a really awesome swing sound. I think this is called Blind Monk. Oops. Oops. Something I think is not quite tight. Make sure that I've got it synced up correctly down here. That stutter that you guys just heard, I think, is because the sound fonts that are on here have the end lock, begin lock files that are supposed to help in the, the smooth transition between a blade lockup or a clash or something in the hum. But I'm not sure that I've got it programmed right, or if they're actually supposed to be included in the sound font, because I don't know if the Proffieboard is actually supposed to have end lock and begin lock. I need to talk to Frederick on that, but that's why it had that little stutter sound. Yeah, same thing there. I think. Everything is tight, so. Alright, so that's your blade array. I don't want to spend too much time on that. It's really what's the best part about this lightsaber, and what really makes me happy with how it came out, is the internals, the chassis, and the thing that really kind of held me back on building this guy to begin with. So I've been sitting on this hilt for months, 6 months or so at least, I don't know, maybe longer, but there was no really nice, really fully loaded, tricked out chassis available for it. Goth Redesigns didn't do one. The Pack Store didn't do one. Nobody did one. Goth didn't do it because Rick didn't actually have the dimensions of the hilt, so he couldn't do one. But I just felt like this deserved a really nice build, and I didn't want to just do a basic, simple thing for it. So it took me a while to come up with something that I thought would work. So, without further ado, let me show you guys what's inside. And I want to definitely say thank you, give a shout out to Dmitry Shtok for his assistance. I contacted Dmitry and asked him to knock out a couple custom parts for me, and he just did it within an hour. No questions asked, just super helpful. So Dmitry, thank you. Super cool of you. But this is a Dmitry Shtok design you can get from Shapeways, but the parts are done in, I did them in matte black stainless steel, but as you can see, they're not matte black stainless steel anymore. The top is gold plated, rhodium plated, and then gold, and then stainless steel down here. But it is a Sidious, Darth Sidious chassis that I repurposed to work inside this hilt. It has, as you can see, a removable battery. Oops, sorry about that, guys. It's got a 18650 lithium removable battery. As you can see, there's a plus sign right there to indicate which is the positive end, which is not the positive end for inserting the battery, which is important because unlike most lightsabers with removable batteries, most of them you can't put the battery in backwards, because if you do, it doesn't connect because of the shape of the tray. This is a printed chassis from Shapeways, this insert. So you could put the battery in backwards and it will fit and it will actually make contact. And you don't want to do that. Luckily, the new Proffieboard is designed so that if you do that, you're not going to hurt the Proffieboard, but you potentially will still fry the Neopixels, so obviously something to avoid. Down here, as you guys can see, there's a 2.1mm standard recharge port. On the bottom, main power switch and pogo pin connector for the speaker that's in the pommel. And then USB and SD card access right there. And this is obviously the part that sticks up when you unscrew the pommel. This cover pops off, nice and easy to give you access to the electronics. And as you can see, I've got 2 strips of super dense Neopixels. They are something that I've been working on for ages and ages as well, and only just now finally worked out a method to accomplish what I wanted to do. These guys are so densely packed that there is no space between the pixels. And when you do that, it really does add quite a lot to the overall effect of animations. It just, ordinarily, this amount of window space here would fit 5 pixels. And there are 11 in this guy. So it's more than double the density. The next thing that I wanted to do for this guy to make it really that much better is to have sound when it was removed from the hilt. Obviously the speaker's right here and you don't want to sit there and hold this on, so what I did was just design a simple, small, additional, magnetized secondary speaker that you can use for purposes of having audio when the saber is out of the hilt. Obviously it doesn't sound anywhere near as good as this guy, but that's because acoustics are never the same when you remove the chassis, and it's smaller. But it looks good. It's super easy to work with, just literally magnets on, any way, any orientation is fine. 25mm bass speaker, and it does give you the gratification of having audio while you're messing around with it. As you guys will notice, I've got dedicated buttons up top here on the chassis, power and auxiliary. Got a version 2.0 onboard Neopixel pogo pin style blade connector up top with extra long pins and a custom made diffuser screen. These new WS2813 2813s, I don't know if they're any better than the 2812s, but they're much cooler looking and they're a little smaller. So they just are gratifying because they're sexier looking. And they might be a tiny bit brighter too. But certainly they're bright. Down here beneath the blade connector, as you can see, is a really nice real quartz crystal chamber. As I said, done in gold and rhodium with a gorgeous crystal in it. This is a crystal I've actually had for ages and ages and ages, and I haven't had any opportunity to use it because I couldn't find a chassis that it would fit in because of its overall shape. But as you can see, it's enormous, and it's really, really nice and sharp and clean and well illuminated, and it fits perfect in here. So I was super happy with using that in this guy. Next addition is these crystal reveal mounted pins. These are the female connector side of the switch connector. The male side is on the back of this. Oops. I need to zoom back out. Sorry guys. The male side is on the back side, underside of this clamp card box, facing in. So as soon as you slide this chassis into the hilt, these little pogo pins will mate up with the pogo pins on the inside of the hilt, and that's what gets the switches on the hilt to control this chassis. And it's just a simple matter of inserting this chassis in the correct orientation. What I did to do that is, hopefully you guys can, yeah, you can see that there's a white stripe here and a white stripe on the opposite side, which line up with the two horizontal tracks here. So when you slide it in, it's really simple and obvious what the proper orientation is. You just line those guys up and slide it in. Once it's in, you screw the speaker on, and as long as you screw the speaker on tightly all the way, then this guy is locked in place. I am still considering adding a secondary kind of stabilizing feature, but I don't really want to mess with the looks of this hilt, so I may extend this CoverTech screw to give the chassis a bit more stability inside. But the inside I lined with some closed cell foam for two reasons. One, to make this fit really snugly, but also to keep this guy from getting scratched up. Because if you have a metal crystal reveal or a metal chassis, when you slide it into your lightsaber, every time you slide it in, it's going to scratch a little bit. And you don't want to do that, especially if your front end is made of gold. So that's going to take the most abuse and just constantly get scratched. So 6 months later, it's not going to be gold anymore. It's going to be brass. But that's not going to happen because it's fully foam padded all the way around on the inside. These pixels, as I mentioned earlier, are like basically true full HD 4K pixels. You couldn't get them any tighter if you wanted to. And that was really a bear to accomplish. I've got a company that I commissioned working on a design for me right now to actually produce strips of these in full high density, no space between the pixels. But that's still a work in progress, so as of right now I have to build these strips individually for each one that I do. And they are a pain. But they're so worth it. I love that. So this is a Cylon effect going side to side here in the accent windows. When you turn it on, it ramps up to match whatever the blade color is. It's got a nice long slow ramp up time, so it takes a while and it really kind of cranks up, kind of gives you the feel of, you know, powering up the actual lightsaber itself. And then it kind of cools down as it turns off. The fire one is terrific. It just looks so good.